I want to check in on something that's it just gets dumber all the time. Okay, so remember yesterday when we were looking at Glenn Beck talking about the drone thing or whatever, and we hopped over to it, and it turns out the video that I had was before the Carolyn Leavitt had given her first press conference. Look at this shit. Look at this fucking piece of clip art. Look at this clickbait horse shit. Okay, Steph chatting. Trump signs are blaming yeah, I'm not surprised. Again, he can sign whatever the fuck he wants. He's just blaming Obama, DEI for plane crash. Who gives a shit? It's gross. Again, I'm not going to chase the laser pointer of Trump's bullshit because it's meaningless. Because ultimately, what really matters is what came out. So anyway, so remember the drones thing, and then Carolyn Leavitt comes out and says, actually, these were all legal drones. They had clearance from the FAA, and yada, yada. Okay. Now, never mind that. Between now and then, between that period and now, the Biden, I guess, it was a congressional rule, and then they passed it to committee, but the Biden signed an executive order that basically outlawed DJI drones in the country. And then when he did that, DJI shut off the part of the drones that causes automatic geofencing in certain areas that keeps them from it. Automatically, it recognizes where it is by GPS, and it won't fly into an airport, for example, or it won't fly over a military base, or it won't fly over restricted airspace of any kind. The Chinese removed that feature when we outlawed them. So every DJI drone that exists in the country right now, the person who's running it is responsible for stopping it from flying out. Right? Okay. So I really do want to, I got to see what the fuck this idiot finally said about this, because ultimately all Carolyn Leavitt did was repeat what the Biden administration did, and now everything's fine.
Let's just first start with how competent this administration is, all of the people that are being put into roles, how competent they are. Let's start with an interview with Stephen Miller with Jake Tapper. I mean, you can see the disgust in Jake Tapper's face.
Yeah, because Stephen Miller is gross. He's the guy behind the child separation stuff. He's the zero tolerance thing. The idea that every person who crosses illegally into the country has automatically committed a crime, whether they have an asylum claim or not. And I've made the case, it's pretty clear, that let's say you, whoever you are not an American citizen, but you are in Canada and you are hiking, and a bear gets a whiff of you, as will happen in Canada, and you start running from the bear, and you cross the U.S. Border in this one area. You cross into the United States, running from the bear. Okay, follow me on this. It's legally, it makes sense. Once you've crossed over that, you are trying to save your own life. You have fled, and you have not asked permission to save your own life because you don't need it. It is an imperative in that moment because you are running from the bear. According to Stephen Miller, you are guilty of a crime. You can be legally prosecuted because you were fleeing a bear and you crossed a line that you may even not known was there. Doesn't matter, right? Legally, that's enough to make you a criminal, according to him. Now, that you can see why that makes sense, from my point of view, that that's why we have asylum claims. Now, we don't have an illegal alien problem in this country. We have an asylum problem. We have the standards for asylum were too loose, and quite frankly, our international enemies, and I would argue members of the right, it materially used those weaknesses in the asylum system to flood immigrants to the border, to use it as a wedge issue, and it worked.
He's pretty transparent. Listen to this.
How does President Trump make sure that the effort to deport people who are not in this country legally doesn't end up hurting Americans who want safe borders, absolutely, but also don't want to see even more higher prices in groceries?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's not your position, Jake, you're just asking the question, that we should supply America's food with exploitative illegal alien labor. I obviously don't think that's what you're implying. Only 1% of alien
again, there's a reason why I pause videos when most of the time when I'm almost all the time. There's a rare exception, and it's usually only when I'm being specifically a dick over something we've already seen. But there's obviously Trump doesn't give a shit about any of that, or he would be arresting the people who had hired these people in the first place. And what Jake Tapper's position is and has always been is that people should be able to work openly. But also, if you're going to broom all these people out that you pretend are not doing these things, how are you going to lower prices at the same time? It's not even a moral question. It's a material question.
workers in the entire country work in agriculture. The top destination for illegal aliens are large cities like New York, like Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's because of the volume of human beings. That's not the targeted industries. And the reason they go to those cities is if they're in construction or they work in processing factories. Because I'll have you know that there's a huge slaughterhouse in fucking Brooklyn, for example. There are food processing plants like all over like southeastern Los Angeles.
And small industrial towns, of course, all across the heartland, as we've seen with the Biden floods. Mm-hmm. None of those illegal aliens are doing farm work. Those 30,000 legal...
Yeah, they are. They work in agricultural processing plants.
Aliens that Joe Biden dumped into Springfield.
I'm talking about the ones that are...
But I'm explaining this. It's important to understand.
No, you're kind of changing the subject. I mean, I'm talking about...
Is he changing the subject? Not really.
I'll go deep as you want this.
We don't have 30
minutes.
I don't have a third. I'm talking about the ones that work in the agriculture industry.
I'm
you can
explaining
come back
to you
and we
your
can talk
audience.
about the ones in the cities, I swear.
I'll do the whole answer. The illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country are not full stop doing farm work. They are not. The illegal aliens he brought in from...
It doesn't matter. You're brooming everybody out. Trump has said you're not even making a distinction. You're not saying we're going to keep the ones that are on the farms. If that's what you're saying, then you're saying, don't worry, Jake. We're keeping the exploitation. The fuck are you talking about?
Venezuela.
This is again, this is beyond gross. It's stupid.
From Haiti, from Nicaragua, they are not doing farm work. They are in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition in...
Really? Yeah? Over time? You're going to transition into those things? Is what you're going to do?
To automation, so we'll never have to have this...
Wait, what'd I say? What did I fucking say? Let's hear that again, kids.
Supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again. But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to...
It's also Glenn projecting onto Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper asked a very specific question, and over time, it isn't this year, motherfucker. It's not even next year.
Flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here.
I think that is a totally reasonable answer, and I really think that we should...
Yes, you know what, Glenn? Hold on. Guys, I feel like I have to remind everyone that... let's see. Let's see if there's a new video on these things instead of this old shit. Is that a real video of it? Let's see. There you go. Okay, hold on to see if this is... it's just a bunch of bullshit. Hold on one second. That's 2020. That's the 2021 one. There you go. You want to see an undocumented worker that doesn't get a pension, doesn't get health care, doesn't care if it's working a 40-hour work week, doesn't if it's injured or destroyed, it has no recourse, and it can't pledge allegiance to a flag of anywhere. And so specifically, I would like to remind everyone that this is one of the reasons why Elon Musk wants to be around Donald Trump, because and I've told you guys this before, but okay, Operation Wetback, which is what Trump is building his kind of idea on, that he wants to better, he wants to triple what happened in Operation Wetback. The name of that, let's see, so here you go, bring this up real quick. Was let's see, yeah, was in June of 1954. So let's see, farm equipment growth 50s. Farm 1950. Let's see if I get a picture of the stuff there. What are these terrible little pictures? I want bigger ones. Boink. Why is it so small? Okay. Here, let me show you this real quick. But okay. See this thing right here? This is from Farm Progress. This is a corn picker. And it doesn't really pick the corn. What it does is it separates, it's built so that anything that's corn shaped gets yanked off of the stalk, and the stalk gets ground up and spit out, right? It was a fairly simple process and way easier to do with corn, because corn is physically hard compared to fruit or vegetables, right? Most of them, okay? Yeah, it's a comment. But this little attachment here is, boink, see that little guy right there? So one of the reasons why this, see how small that picture is? What the fuck? How does that help me? That in 1954 is when Operation Wetback happened. Okay, the reason we're having this big move right now towards getting rid of like farm workers and the like, and why he just said what he said. He just said the quiet part loud. That eventually with automation, you will solve all this and we'll never have to have this conversation again. That's what they're talking about at the White House right now, and that's what's going to replace immigration. That's what they think. Now, to a certain degree, that's true. Just like, tillers and combines and bush hogs and threshers and all that stuff replaced 8 or 10 male workers during the 50s, late 40s and early 50s. Remember this? They, as a farmer who used to have like a hand plow, would hire a bunch of guys who'd come over from Mexico to push 4 hand plows. Now he could drag a plow behind his tractor that dug 4 rows at a time, and he didn't need anybody. He could do it himself. But he still needed the women to pick the fruit. That's what ultimately happened. And that's why all the imagery from that period of time, to where like Slowpoke Gonzalez, Speedy Gonzalez's brother, they'd always talk about, or the pictures of like Mexicans with their sombreros tipped forward, right, sitting against walls. The reason that image was so pervasive during that time was because those guys who had come here for work were slowly being put out of work by these machines. And then at a certain point, it achieved, an ROI, or return on investment aspect, where they just weren't worth it. Right? And so they sent back a bunch of them. And then they started limiting who came across. And the people who did come after that ended up being pickers, not farmers. Or they ended up working in agricultural plants. Or and the men who would have done the plowing ended up in construction. Okay? So one thing that's important is that this is the first time I'm hearing that, like somebody from the administration specifically talking about automation replacing this, and we're never going to hear from, let's listen to it one more time. This is policy.
I think,
but there's no universe.
Hold on.
not doing farm work. They're in our cities collecting welfare. As for the farmers, there is a guest worker program that President Trump supports. Over time as well, we will transition into automation, so we'll never have to have this conversation ever again.
Right. That's the plan. The idea is not to have, raise wages so that Americans will do these jobs, right? The purpose of this is to replace immigration, which was cheap labor, with a new updated form of cheap labor. That's it. And it's going to take, I'm saying 2 years, where you'll really start seeing this. Because we've already got some of them. We've already got, in certain areas, I'll show you some of these things. So, let's see if I can find, Demantic, and you'll see why there's a focus on this. Where are we? That's a pick module, robotic fulfillment order. Oops, hold on. Specific. There you go. See this guy? Hold on. This thing right here, this device, okay, that's a fruit picker. And these things, like right now, the ones that they have, which they do use a lot of, work in greenhouses, or they work in these places where they grow them, anything they can grow on rails, strawberries, tomatoes, shit like that. So they grow them up on these rails, and then the robot can ride along next to it, and they're kind of already set up to be picked this way. And the only thing stopping this from happening everywhere all at once is the fact that some foodstuffs can't be grown off the ground yet. Right? I'm just letting you know. This is happening. And they know it. They just know the issue they have is that it's not happening fast enough for Elon Musk to make money off of it right away. So they're trying to speed it along. Basically, this purge is doing Elon Musk a favor. They'll shove everybody. Remember how Elon Musk was saying there's going to be some economic difficulty, and then people are just going to have to put up with it, and then it's all going to be better. Okay, this is what he's talking about. He's talking about food's going to get really fucking expensive, and then everybody's going to wig out, and then they're going to buy my robots to pick the fruit and do all this kind of stuff, and then it'll get super, super cheap. That's the argument they're making. And this is the first time I'm seeing somebody from the actual administration saying it. That means they're all talking about it.
But there's no universe in which this nation is going to allow the previous president to flood our nation with millions and millions of illegal aliens who just get to stay here.
I think that is a totally reasonable answer, and I really think that we should start asking people about farm labor and cheap labor, and they're using that as a defense. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were in the 1850s again.
Hey, fuck you, dude. No, you don't get to benefit from slavery and then claim other people who are talking about its impacts are on your side. We're against it. That's why a guest worker program is the thing. But it's all these ag businesses that have these people work under the table.
Okay, so you have no problem with exploiting people as long.
Yeah, we do. We do have a problem with it. That's why the people who hire them should go to jail, and the people who are here working should get a green card or a temporary work visa if they want to keep working.
As long as they're out picking your food. Okay, I got it.
No, and also that wasn't what Jake Tapper's point is. This is my point that I was making, but Jake Tapper's point was, hey, how are you going to scoop all these people out and kick them out of the country and lower grocery prices at the same time? How are you going to do it? Without confronting the fact that one of the reasons that we can afford as many groceries as we do in this country is because of exploited workers. You're either going to solve for the problem and pay them what they deserve, or prices are going to go up. And whose fucking fault is that? Nobody's, because that's just reality.
I just want to understand where you're coming from.
Where he's coming from is you got two conflicting goals. How do you square them?
Because that is what they're arguing.
It's amazing.
No, it isn't.
Too, like, the media really hates Donald Trump. I'm not breaking news with that. But
yeah, because he brags about sexually assaulting women, and he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 2.5 decades, and he's a fraud and a bullshitter. What am I kidding? What's not to like?
But they may hate Stephen Miller more. They can't stand him.
Yeah.
And, I will say, you might not agree with Stephen Miller's opinion on these things. He knows this stuff really well. I mean, you're not going to, like, he knows immigration issues. These are the issues that got...
Jesus Christ. No, he doesn't. No. He's a single issue voter in terms of his value in the administration. He's a racist. He doesn't know immigration. He's a racist. Again, if he's trying to replace these human beings with robots entirely. It's not like he's saying black Americans or Hispanic Americans can take these jobs if they're low-income people who need a better job. We can guarantee that agricultural work is this. We can make sure that there are more black and Latino farms in the country. He's not saying that at all. He's hi. Oh, excuse me 1 second. Oh. No, I'm not ready for that. Scary.
I mean, obviously it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're fine. Summer's going out wearing a shirt that says vasectomies prevent abortions. And I was like, I don't need a snip. I'm good. But anyways, so where was I? Oh yeah, he's a racist and they like it.
Got him to the position he's in, and you're not going to get on there and stump him on that stuff.
And I think,
yeah, because he's again, that's like it. Hammer, all the Hammer cares about is a nail. You're not going to tempt him with a screw. That came out weird.
everyone needs to learn from what this administration is saying. What they've been saying for the last couple of days is, are you okay? I just want to be on the record with you. Are you okay saying that we should exploit people for cheaper prices?
No, they're not at all. They're making the point that you're going to do this, prices are going to go up. I have been saying this about Chinese cotton for fucking years now. And after spending almost 2 years there, the better part of 2 years there before COVID, and coming away knowing that, like, specifically that slave cotton from Xinjiang making H&M shirts $1 cheaper is not worth it. Most of the prices that you're seeing going up in textiles, especially at the places that usually sell them cheaper, is because you are now paying an anti-slavery tax. You are paying extra for cotton sourced from someplace that isn't picked by in Xinjiang or by Uyghur Muslims who are forced into labor, who are sterilized, who are put into re-education camps and all that kind of stuff. Okay, that's why the price went up. And the point is, I'm okay with that. You motherfuckers were the ones using it as a cudgel against Biden and blaming fucking oil and gas prices for it. Right? I would rather have something that lasts longer. You guys have seen me wear the same t-shirt many, many times. Now, to be completely fair, I have 6 of the I Love Toxic Waste shirts. And the reason I have that is because I wear them on stage, and so I'll have a fresh one for each show if I do 5 shows in a weekend, so I don't have to do laundry when I'm on the road, so that I can wear the same thing on stage consistently. This is something I like. Anyways, but you guys have seen me wear like a band t-shirt or something that I have over and over again, because that's how it should be. There's no shame in it. It's cool. You can wear the same stuff as long as it's clean as many times as you want. and it should last. And the idea that you're gonna, that I'd be like, man, these shirts are $2. You're like, that's just suspect. Something that cheap, there's another cost to it. You understand? And in this particular case, what Jake Tapper is saying is that you guys say you're going to bring down the price of groceries, and you're also going to run off most of the farm workers. How are you going to do that? What does that look like, asshole? Are you going to force people to work on the cheap? Are you going to, we see the stick, where's the fucking carrot? Carrots will be $5 a bushel.
Because it puts the Democrats where they have always been.
Fuck you. He's going back to Democrats were for slavery. Yeah, that's before the Dixiecrats switched over and became Republicans, and the abolitionist Democrats maintained. Get the fuck out of here.
Since the 1800s.
Fuck off. Again, they all want to erase the 60s. The 60s are when the Democrats, specifically the Southern Democrats, known as the Dixiecrats, because everybody in the country was a Democrat of one sort or another. There were conservative Democrats, liberal Democrats, there were Whigs and all this stuff, but the idea was everybody was for democracy. There was only after a while that we found out that there were some conservatives who were Federalist conservatives who didn't like that everybody had a vote and wanted the Electoral College to be the main driver of the elections. That's where the Democratic Party became a thing.
Yes, it's going to affect our life if we get rid of these slaves. Yes, it's going to affect my lawn care prices. It's going to affect my food prices.
Okay. Long as you're good with that, then again, why is it okay to keep going up now? Right? If food prices are already too fucking high, and you're like, we're going to solve for this. We're going to throw these folks out. And again, we're not for throwing them out or their exploitation. We're for giving them a legitimate path to work. They don't have to become citizens. They don't have to have voting rights. And they're not slaves. They get paid. They just get paid under the table. Yeah, he calls them slaves. And again, which just means that he's fine with exploiting them until the conversation comes up. It's just fucking dumb.
Orange prices. Okay, that's fine.
Is it fine? Okay, it is fine. As long as it's fine, and you guys aren't going to bitch about when prices go up, and when we call you out on it, that prices didn't go down when he promised that they were, you're going to go, yeah, fuck me. As long as you agree to go, yeah, fuck me, I'm down.
Just want to make sure that I understand clearly that is where you stand.
No, where we stand is that these workers should have either seasonal passes or a green card so that they can work temporarily. And if they live on the other side of the border, if they're going to do those jobs and they're going to send the money back home to take care of their family and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. That there should be a system in place so that they can do it. That they're not working under the table. The question is you don't want to do that part. You don't want to support them in any way. You don't want to give them any rights. You want them to, work under the shadow of ICE all the time, right? You want them to live in fear constantly while doing this job. We don't. Right? Specifically, we want them to be able to work out in the open and get a decent wage. Even if it's not what the federal minimum would be, it would still be better than what they could make at home, and therefore there'd be a back and forth, right?
Because then we can take a conversation honestly now, and we can talk about two things. Is that right for you to think that, or does that kind of put you back into the old-timey days with...
Again, this is just like condescending horse shit. He's trying to lay this off on them. And again, please, move the next step forward and go, we need these folks. They do an important job. Many of them are just trying very hard so they can support their families and they make a little money and send some home. And maybe it's time we give a special guest worker pass to these folks, right?
Slavery.
Not going to do it.
Because even if it's one of those things that even if it made the prices go up slightly.
You won't say a thing. Thank you, Stu. Even if it goes up slightly, it's worth it. Look at that. Stu sounds like me about Chinese cotton. See, progress can be made.
It would be the type of thing that I think Americans would be okay with. They didn't like the slavery thing. I think we're off of that bandwagon. So,
and it's different than, I mean, because I have an Apple product. Okay, I have Apple products in my house. I know those are made by slaves.
No, you don't. They're not. No, the Chinese government was using Uyghurs in those factories, and when it became known, they had to move the Foxconn factory. That's why Foxconn was moving one of their major factories to fucking Vietnam.
I hate that.
And also, they're not made. They're assembled. Things aren't made in China. They're assembled in China.
But it's the best product, and how I justify it in my head, and this is exactly the thing they did in the 1800s as well.
Oh, good. So, sorry, if you're not following along, Democrats are justifying our belief that immigrants should be recognized and respected for the role they play in our society, and that there should be legal protections for them to either as temporary workers or get a green card or something like that. And that's what Democrats think right now, which he says makes us pro-plantation circa 1850. And then he moves from, well, actually, that's how I think. Like, that's Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck thinks that same way, too. So it seems like he's projecting what he's aware of as his moral failing onto us.
I justify it in my head as, well, I'll never be able to change China. I'm not going to change China. And we're working to change China in any way we can.
Are we? Oh, right. The Chips and Science Act. Right. Which I'm sure you're for. Right, Glenn? I'm sure I could look back and you've done all kinds of shows about finally the Chips and Science Act. Finally, we're moving that production here. Finally, we're reshoring those factories under Joe Biden.
But
also, yeah. So context also matters there. I mean, a lot of the jobs that again, slavery, it was a specific thing.
Yes.
We compare a lot of things to slavery. To be clear, even illegal immigrants working here are not slaves.
No,
typically. Some of them are.
They're not.
Some of them are.
But
probably,
it is still exploitation of people for cheaper prices.
And I will say, especially when you're talking about China.
Great, yeah. Let's listen who's turning into fucking Noam Chomsky all of a sudden. Like, you give a fuck, Glenn. It's not a single thing in that studio that wasn't assembled in fucking China. His video wall comes from there directly. He didn't even buy it through an American supplier.
And products in other countries, you have to put context.
This motherfucker, I guarantee that Glenn Beck buys a bunch of shit on Alibaba. And the way that I can prove it is the whole conversation we had about the robot dog, that he wanted a Unitree Go 2, the dog with a flamethrower on it. Remember that conversation? And he was going to get him to patrol his property and yada yada. Totally did.
Text into it.
He didn't buy those through fucking Amazon.
The pay that they get there, if it were here, would be terrible. If it's there, lots of times it's the best job in the area. Mm-hmm. That's not always true, but it is something that you have to consider.
Okay, so now let's go.
Yeah, Glenn, you have to consider this.
To the new press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. She was, I thought, really, really good yesterday.
At yelling and huffing and puffing. I don't know if you guys saw that, but she was literally like hyperventilating. She was saying everything she had to say so forcefully that she got out of breath.
She did seem just a little nervous, but I mean, wouldn't you're walking into a Shark Tank for your
No, you're not. First of all, you don't walk into a shark tank. You arguably swim in. And if you walked into one, all the sharks would be dying. And they wouldn't have any oxygen, so there wouldn't be any water. So they'd be just flopping around, I think. This is so stupid.
Your first day.
Absolutely.
Right?
But I thought she did really well. At first, she started the press conference with some breaking news about the drones.
It wasn't breaking. There was nothing breaking about it. All she did was reiterate what the Biden administration had said about this, and which turned out to be exactly what everybody knew it was, and it turned out to be a big old fucking nothing burger.
Cut 3.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly.
Yes, and this is a direct quote. Yeah.
An update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over
The drones that were flying were like, fuck you.
New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons.
Yeah, like these nuts. I'm a Jersey drone. Fuck off.
Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones.
What's a recreational individual? Sounds an awful lot like a prostitute, I gotta say. It's like, are you a prostitute? No, I'm a, professionally, I'm a recreational individual.
In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy. A statement from the President of the United States.
That reiterates exactly what the Biden administration said weeks ago.
To start this briefing with some news.
How do you feel about that?
Because both of you are assholes?
Answer.
I mean, you know me. I don't.
That's where you were.
That's kind of where I was. Kind of where I figured it would land. Now, those are words directly from President Trump's mouth. I don't know why he'd lie about it. And
I don't think he would.
Yeah, why would he lie? He doesn't lie. He didn't lie. I mean, there's obviously a lot of stuff in the Epstein files that's fake and stuff, and you wouldn't want to release those. You kind of want to release them, but you don't want to release because, yeah.
But I don't think he would. So, I'm
The
not
only thing
shocked by that where that lands.
Yeah, you are. Shut the fuck up. Both of you are like, aha. This is like the same as the JFK shit. It came out and everybody was like,
I'm not satisfied, and I know President Trump is not satisfied with these things either. That's a good opening statement. What I'd like to see is the transparency of, here are the documents from the FAA approving these things.
What? First of all, why? Secondly, if you think he's lying, fucking say so, you chicken shit. So you do think he's lying. I appreciated him saying this, and I can't imagine he would ever lie, and he can't lie. He's like fucking, he's more than George Washington. He's the fucking cherry tree, so he can't lie. He can't tell a lie. He's just fucking amazing, right? But I'd really like to check his work, because I smell bullshit. Like, whatever.
I don't need to know what they were testing, but...
well, hey, stupid, if they were testing something for research purposes, it would be self-evident from who was flying it and where.
Here's what they said. The Biden administration decided to close that down because, or not tell you about this, not spread these to the American people. I don't know why. Maybe it's they caused chaos, but they were also very incompetent on a lot of things. So I don't know why it wasn't verified. But I'd like to see the documentation.
So that you can, maintain that it was something else because you got so far out over your fucking skis on this when you know fuck all about any of it? That's why. The reason he wants is, because he knows he never will. Trump's not going to release the fucking FAA documentation on these things. Why the fuck would he? And also, anything that can be posted is posted. Jesus Christ. And what are they going to post? Hobbyist drone locations?
It would help because we don't trust anything anymore.
Anything? Really? How'd you drive to Sonic and back, Glenn? How'd you get there? Did you drive a car that all the safety factors of it were the Transportation Safety Board, checked it all out, made sure it was up to spec? The little yellow line in the middle of the road that couldn't stop anything, couldn't stop a bullet and anything, but you just trust your fellow citizens aren't going to drive across the center of it and smack right into the front of your fucking car. You don't trust anybody anymore? You don't? You lying piece of shit. You trust things all the time. Look at you. You drink stuff from a soda fountain on tap. Do you know how much trust is in that? You take it for granted, but holy shit, who poured that in there? Did they have an open sore? Is there, like, who made the ice? Where'd the water come from to make the ice? Do you get where I'm going? Like, what? Did anything happen from the fucking factory, where the Coke products factory, with the syrup on its way there? Did anybody decide they were sick of being treated like shit by the boss and yak off inside the, in one of the bins that makes all the syrups? Of course you trust people, you dumbass. What? You can't even get overweight without trust. You can't do it. Right? To consume enough food to where you and sit in enough chairs where you gain weight, to eat more than the calories you express, is an act of trust, because you are consuming a volume of food that has to come from a myriad of sources. So of course you do, asshole. You just are paranoid specifically about areas where it just makes the fizz. That is not true, Regina. But then was that this year's winner at the AVNs? I forgot to watch.
I do trust Donald Trump to tell us.
Well, no, you don't. You just wanted to see his fucking paperwork, dummy.
That's the truth, because I do believe he answers to us. I do.
Yes, and what did he say? The same thing the Biden administration did. So the problem is that the question has nothing to do with him or Biden. It all comes down to you, dumbass. Glenn, you fucking tool. Two guys say the same thing, but you don't trust one of them in the same detail. So much so that you don't trust the thing that you believe from the second guy because the first guy said it. That's not their problem. That's your problem. That is, you've got a paranoia cramp in your tiny little fucking pea brain, dummy. Has nothing to do with Trump or Biden. You're just an asshole.
I do believe that. He doesn't have an ulterior motive.
All right, now he's just fucking with me. Now he's just giving up all pretense at this point.
I think the shooting, honestly, proved that out.
What? What do you? The shooting proved that out? Why? Do you know a bunch about the shooter that we don't know? Can you explain to me why everybody just dropped it all of a sudden? I mean, where's the fucking JFK, RFK, MLK fucking file shit about the shooter in Butler? Dude won't even say his fucking name. He'll shit talk anybody. He'll talk about Lake and Riley's killer and all this stuff like till he's blue in the fucking face, but he won't bring up that guy's name at all. Why? Because he doesn't want to draw attention to the fact that the guy voted for him?
For people, I mean, you were, I wouldn't say
or that his ear seems perfectly fine.
Biggest, theorist on this, but you were
a conspiracy theorist,
concerned and asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
There are people who are much more deeply into this than you were. What's the reaction from that side? Do they buy that? I mean,
No.
a lot of them like Trump, so they might.
I think here's where I would go in my mind is.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of room to walk around.
Trump is saying that because of national security.
Okay.
You can't say anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think you gotta. You.
Sorry. So no. It's not kind of yeah. No. So you're essentially giving him some sort of like fuck it rule pass on this. Because if he said he didn't want to say something because of national security, you just buy it outright? But he didn't. They literally just came out and said, no, it was all bullshit. We knew it was bullshit. It's what the FAA said. It's what the New Jersey governor ultimately said. It's what the all the people around Manhattan, like the Homeland Security people around Manhattan, they're like, yeah, we fucking tracked all these things. They're all fucking drones. Dude, the enemy will not be FAA compliant, stupid.
We'll go down a road, and that's why I say I would like to see the documentation. Just show me the documentation so we can just...
What documentation? What do you want? The address of everybody who has a hobby drone that flew in the area? So your nutcase maggot assholes can show up on their door and treat them like they treated election workers in Georgia? Are you fucking nuts? Do you want to be sued out of existence, dipshit?
Write these things off. We're talking to Comer in next hour, and it's the same.
Yeah, a dude with answers. The guy who's gotten to the bottom of everything, mainly a bottle.
Kind of thing. I don't care if people are arrested anymore. I just want to know the truth, and I want to.
Huh? It sounds like you want people arrested, even though you found out the truth, because you felt like because you don't believe it.
See it in documents. I want the proof of what was going on. I want to know who was running the White House and our country in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that
with
is
you on that.
really important.
Huge one.
Yeah.
It's like we have these big things and we just kind of stop.
Wait a minute. Hold on. You're going to dovetail this into Biden was an old fart and losing his mind, and he couldn't do anything, and he was incapable of understanding what was around. He didn't know where he was, couldn't complete a sentence, and all that kind of shit. And then he says the statement from his White House is the exact same as Trump's. Wouldn't that just mean that Trump is a dough-headed old fuck too?
Yeah.
Like there's some new
Epstein files? The Epstein files? You were going to bring up the Epstein files, weren't you? No, you weren't? Oh. I'm sorry. Could have swore you were going to say the Epstein files. All of them. They should be all released. All of them. And Trump's flight logs as well.
on this that broke the other day, but the lab leak COVID situation.
Yeah.
Like, just China just gets away with this? Is that how this works?
No, okay. Under Trump, they get away with it. Biden was handing them their ass. And whether it was, and this lab leak shit, they just came out with on low confidence, we believe it was a lab leak. Again, these assholes seem to not make a distinction, or hope that no one else will, that lab leak means they made it in a lab to be a bioweapon and either let it out or snuck it out. Right? That's not what that means.
Just 25 million people died in the world, and we're just going to be like, oh man, remember
in China?
Remember that whole story about the pangolins? We're just going to kind of shrug our shoulders and
it doesn't matter. Trump's removed us from the WHO. We have no contact and nothing to do with the Chinese healthcare system or their bioweapon system or any of that stuff. We're completely dislodged from that. We have no say in it. We got nobody on the ground. We got nobody interacting with them. We don't have anybody at the WHO working on our behalf there. We don't have any of our people in the WHO organization working in China to make sure that other pathogens don't spread at all. It doesn't fucking matter. Because again, if you find out your house has been broken into and it's because of a particular window that was left open, you lock the fucking window, right? That's why you want to know how they got in, how the person get in. They came in through the bathroom window, and you can shut it and lock it. Now you know you're good, right? That's the point. But if you find out they have the issue is they have a glass cutter and you're deaf. Which window they came in through doesn't fucking matter. Stupid.
Let that go on. We all lost a year of our lives, and we're just going to be like,
excuse me. I didn't lose a year of my life. That was a year of my life. Do you understand? That was a year of my life. That's what that year was about. Shit happens, life occurs, and your life goes on in spite of it. Think the people in North Carolina who had their house wiped out, and are going to rebuild over the course of 18 months to 2 years, you think they're looking at it as like, that's 2 years of my life that's gone. No, you're fucking alive. It's something that happened to you. And it happened to the whole fucking world. And sorry, Stu, Glenn, are we to assume that had you been able to go out more, you would have made more of that year than you did? Because I don't buy it. Motherfucker, you don't leave the studio. I work from home and I know this. I started doing this show during the pandemic because I was always here. And this built out of it. But these motherfuckers have been doing this type of shit in this type of environment for years, well before the fucking pandemic. They weren't going outside on the regular. They weren't having big social gatherings. Well, they miss out on like 4 Patriot events that they do, selling fucking timeshares in Key West.
You know, what's the big deal? I mean, I don't know exactly how you punish him, and I think part of this Trump obviously is very focused on not only.
Yeah, he's going to punish them by keeping TikTok and I guess improving relations or something.
Punishment, but also getting answers on this stuff. But like, we can't just let that go, right?
Well,
Same thing with this.
I don't think he is. I mean, with the stop.
And you don't think he is? And you know what? You're right. You just got to trust him. Put your trust. Hold on. I obviously need, let's see. Where is it? Put your trust in Donald Trump. Put your trust in the Lord. Put your trust in Donald Trump to take you home to Calvary. Oh, put it, Jesus, and drive it down to Mar-a-Lago. Find my way to Jesus every day. I come home and oh, the Lord, we're praying for some Mar-a-Lago time with those ladies with the big old fake titties, and we're going to Mar. Get the fuck out of here. Praise Jesus and pass the mashed potatoes.
All funding on everything to make sure for 90 days. We want to make sure this is all in line with the agenda of the United States. But also, I think it was over the weekend, he stopped any communication from NIH, CDC, any of these organizations. You are not to change your website. You are not to make any statements on, hey, we just did a research study. This is nothing. You do nothing until we.
Yeah, because, obviously it takes months before a disease can spread to somebody else.
We get a handle on what's really going on.
Yeah.
And then what if you find out, I'm just going to float this. Work with me on this. It's a thought. Let me just roll this into your cranium a little bit. What if you're not capable of understanding what's going on? What if at the end of whatever this period is, you find out, dear God, I, Glenn Beck, /I, Stu, or I, Donald Trump, am too fucking stupid to even fathom this shit. And no amount of eating dinner with Elon Musk or using ChatGPT is going to make up for how fucking dumb I am in the process. And what I've done, what I've succeeded in doing, is slowing down all the people who do know what the fuck they're talking about from protecting the citizens of the United States because my fucking ego was on the line. What if that's the conclusion? And what if people die because of it? How about that? How about that? I'm just gonna drop that turd in your punch bowl there, Glenn.
And I think that's really good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that wasn't a Trump criticism. I know. It's a society criticism. Like, we do tend to just move on from this stuff.
Oh, we do? Do we? I would like to say for the record that every time I bring up gun control, I'm talking about 9 mass shootings ago. So that I haven't moved on from. I'm not just, parlaying something that just happened into a political point. It is too soon if it's just happened. So I go back 9 shootings ago. I think that's just generally a good idea Yeah, it's a good window.
And China especially here. If the foundation of all of that chaos was them letting this out of this lab, which I believe it was.
Okay, again, a lab leak and making a bioweapon in a lab and releasing it are two different things. And again, remember what Glenn was talking about the fucking farmers and how guess you guys are cool with exploiting labor if it means blah, blah, blah. And then he goes off on I kind of understand it because I have all these Apple products that I know are made in China, but okay. Stu is floating the idea that the Chinese attacked us with a bioweapon during the last Trump administration, and his response was to give Xi Jinping a hand job.
There has to be ramifications for that. Yeah, Same thing with the last 6 months, and 6 months isn't long enough, but the last year and a half of the Biden administration, where we have multiple well-reported news stories saying that at least 6 people inside Joe Biden's inner circle actively hid what he was doing behind the scenes so that he could win that election. That's not okay.
Yeah, and he stepped down. It didn't matter. Who gives a fuck? He made the decision not to go forward. And he could have won, by the way. It would have meant that he probably would have stepped down this year and Kamala would be president. That could have happened. Trump's lucky he didn't.
Something has to be done about what happened there. We need to know. I want to know
No, you don't. Why? Why? What was it in the last year that you're like, oh my God, this is terrible what happened? He, had he been sane or aware, he would have never allowed this to happen. You motherfuckers think he does everything that's bad on purpose. So why would you want him more cogent? And if he wasn't cogent, then he's not to blame for the stuff that you hated, which you can't articulate any fucking way. Because just like the drone story, you're for all of it. You're just a liar.
I want every single text from those 6 people when they were planning that out.
I want to know. I want to know not only.
I want to know what my penis looks like. I haven't seen it without using a hand mirror glued to my shoes in well over 17 years. And even then, it was an accident. I had fallen down in the bathroom in a hotel, and it was like all mirrors.
Who ran the government, but also who actually forced him out. Mm-hmm. Who was the one that actually, was it Nancy?
What are you talking about? Stu was just making the case that he wasn't capable of even fucking understanding what was going on around him. Why do you want to know if he was forced out by somebody? Because, what are you going to make the point that Stu's the asshole here because he wanted the sensible thing done? Fuck off.
Pelosi. Was it Kamala? Was it Barack Obama? How did that actually come down?
It's going to be an incredible.
Who cares?
Incredible. I mean, someone's going to write a book about it eventually.
I'm telling you, the corruption that has happened in the last 4 years. The American people may not understand it, but they.
Right, because they're too busy enjoying the fruits of the bills that he actually passed and the things he actually did. I don't understand, Stu, how their days aren't eaten up with all the shit you made up in your fucking head. They're so busy enjoying the Infrastructure Act and all that stuff that they missed out on all the things that I think happened.
They've got a pretty good gut. They knew something is really wrong, and I think the Tulsi Gabbard.
Sorry, real quick. So again, and I think this sums the whole thing up. Let me get this straight. Joe Biden was mentally deficient and belonged nowhere near the White House. But you want to know who had the guts to drive him out because that person is bad. Meanwhile, you think that Biden's statement on and his administration statement on the drones, which is exactly the same as the Trump administration, means that Biden's still a liar, even though Trump's telling the truth, and not that Trump's a dough-headed old fart too, because he's repeating the same thing that the guy you think is a dough-headed old fart said. If you're Glenn Beck, how do you pass a desk without slamming your head onto it? Right? How do you manage that? I couldn't. I mean, maybe the rattle of your tiny little fucking peanut brain bouncing around in your skull, you find it irritating enough that stops the drive. Holy shit.